Welcome back, everyone, to another episode as we bring to a close our international month. And today we are speaking with Melanie Boylan. Melanie is the founder and director of Stomp Social Media Training. She is a digital marketer and social media trainer, a speaker, mentor, journalist, and fellow podcaster. Melanie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much. And the reason why you've had to say all that is I get bored very easily.
Well, no, I am truly happy to have you, folks, and we will be speaking about unlocking social media success, proven strategies for small business growth. But before we get into that, Melanie, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Well, I've been a sole trader for 11 years now. So we started in 2013, and it started from my kitchen table, just like everybody else does. But over a period of, say, 4 to 5 years, I worked my way up to my own office, which I'm now in there. And I'm now working with corporates and national bodies and even a couple of celebrities.
Outstanding. And I know that starting a small business or being a small business owner is not the easiest thing in the world. And it slowly progresses at times, go past. But I'm hopeful for you that that offense will expand and then you'll be able to increase your footprint in the industry that we'll be talking about today, which is the social media aspect. Now, Melanie, not everyone taps into the right platform or forum or whatever vehicle it is to do great in social media. But what are the most effective social media platforms for small to medium businesses? And how can they determine which ones to focus on having so many options?
That's a very good start, actually. I find, especially small business owners, they tend to go on platforms that they feel more comfortable with, and to a degree, that's a good idea. But it's not where you're comfortable, and it's not where you're at. It's where your customers or your potential customers are. And so there's a couple of things you need to do before you even start considering your social media platforms. And remember, I'm only talking about social media here. There's still a place for traditional marketing as well. So press releases, meeting people, speaking, sponsoring, and showing up in general. But when it comes down to preparing for your social media platforms, you first of all need to know what problem you're solving and who your best and ideal customers are. Once you've resolved those two things, then it helps you understand where you have to place your business in order to be found in a search. And that's how people find us. They have a problem, they feel a pain point, and they want to resolve it. And that search could be asking friends, it could be doing a Google search, it could be going onto social platforms and actually using hashtags or social searching. And now people are even using voice searches. So we need to optimize for all these different areas. And so, first of all, think what problem you're solving and who your best and ideal customers are, and then get on the right platforms to find them, find you.
That's wonderful advice. A lot of times we go on this social media journey without knowing those specific things and specifically the customer, right? Who
Yeah.
is buying from what you're selling or about what you're selling? It's a very important piece in that whole equation. But some of it is the budget, right? And I often see, hey, I don't have that type of budget that I would like. So, how can small businesses leverage social media to
Mm.
build and engage their audience without a large marketing budget?
Yes. Now, this is a burden that every small business feels, and it doesn't matter which country in the world you're in. So, my best suggestion to you is don't throw all that money at your website. You don't need to spend thousands and thousands and thousands on your first website. You just need a landing page that gets people over to your contact details so that you get found in search. And use some of the money that you were going to use, unless, of course, you're aiming to build a shop like Amazon, so you need e-commerce or something like that, then obviously you do need the big bucks. But if you're not doing something like that, then leave that money to one side so that you've got a monthly marketing budget. And it doesn't need to be very sizable. Now, it depends again which platforms you're going to be using. Maybe you want to do Google Ads, which is quite a bit more expensive than Facebook. Um, it's actually, or good, successful Google Ads can be more expensive than LinkedIn ads. So I would say start with Meta ads if that's where your audience is at. Maybe do YouTube ads again if that's where your audience is at. They're not too bad actually. They can, and especially if you start doing regular videos on there, you can even monetize it once you get sufficient subscribers. And you can get better money from YouTube than you can from the other platforms. I digress. But when you've got, I'd say, around 500 a month, ideally, um, that sounds like a lot of money for a small business. But honestly, if you can do that and you've got high ticket items that you can sell, anything from, I'd say, 1,500 bucks up, then it gets cheaper because you're then building leads, you're building awareness, and you actually start seeing a return on your investment. And that's the important key.
And that's so important to understand. If you don't have it, start building it. But if you do have it, start investing it wisely.
Yeah.
And as we grow, our marketing budget tends to grow our customer base. So, can you share some successful case studies or examples, maybe, of small businesses that have used social media to significantly grow their customer base?
Yes, there is one company now. Obviously, I can only talk about over here in the Republic of Ireland, and because that's where I'm based. Although I sound very English, which I am, I'm based in the Republic of Ireland, and there's this company called Gym Plus Coffee. It does exactly what it says on the tin, and it's a well-known leisure company or a sort of an athletic sort of leisure company that sells gym equipment and coffee-related products, and it's kind of a bit of a chill zone. You get the millennials there. And it really launched off. It kicked off and got up to 70,000. It's gone beyond that now, but it went up to 70,000 followers in the space of a year, with stores in Dublin, Cork, Limerick, and there was one over in London as well. And it just started with three young men who wanted to build a tribe, who wanted to build a community first, and that's what they thrived on. They connected, they related with the people that they were meeting through social media platforms. They asked questions, they responded, which made it even more precious. And they made themselves visible, which is a problem that a lot of small businesses struggle to do. They don't want to step in front of their brand or their logo. But these guys, they were just such characters. People connected with them very quickly. They made themselves very accessible, and that's how they grew so quickly.
Now, that's amazing and shows the power that social media actually has to enable three young men to get on this journey and capitalize so quickly. That
Mm,
growth is exponential, to say the least. And then you have the aspect of their desire to build a tribe. And now social media has become something of a tribe building
mm.
mechanism, right? And
Oh, totally.
that's when you attract those that you actually will be serving. And so, great example there. Now, with all the great examples that you just talked about, there are also some sad stories, right? Some stories of pain and mistakes. So, what are some common mistakes that small businesses make in their social media marketing efforts, and how can they avoid them?
I think the biggest problem is they come out all gung ho because they've got no particular clients initially. Even if they've got the right customer avatar that they're targeting, they've done all the research and all the hard work. And initially, obviously, nobody has any customers when they first start. So they put all this energy, all this content creation, all this planning, and then they start to get customers. And once they start to get customers, they get distracted from their ongoing business plan, their business marketing, and slowly over time their ability to do all of the work from accounts, front facing, ordering supplies, and doing social media and networking and everything else that they need to do, and ads and print, and it just gets overwhelming, and they start to slowly fall back from their marketing. Now, it's not unusual. You're not alone if you're one of these people who are doing this yourself. But business development is such a crucial part of maintaining business longevity. And if you don't keep up with your business intelligence, if you're not monitoring what's working and what's not, and if you're not, making sure that there's no threats coming up behind you, there's no opportunities that you're missing out on. Can anybody hear what I'm describing? I'm talking about a SWOT. And this sort of thing can actually really help you manage your time and your productivity better, but only if you keep your finger on the pulse. If you can find a virtual assistant who can help you, if you can partner up with somebody, if you can deliberately carve out some time every single week to make sure you're doing something that pushes your business forward. And it doesn't even need to be entirely social media. As mentioned earlier on, Enrique, I said, if you rely on social media on its own, if you don't do anything else, it won't work. It won't be enough. You need to do more. But you don't have to do all of it in 5 minutes either. There's a lot of marketing channels that we can all tap, and it can take a year or two to do all of them if you so wish.
Now, keeping your finger on the pulse in a multifaceted business structure is difficult, to say the least, especially when you're starting out yourself and the whole team is you. So
Mm.
there's ways of avoiding those pitfalls by having a tracking system. So, how can small businesses measure the effectiveness of their social media campaigns, and what key metrics should they be tracking?
I am so glad you asked me that one. Um, Now, the key metrics again depend on the type of business you are. If you're product or service, then obviously you're going to be monitoring, products coming in, supplies, stock control, that sort of thing. But the other metrics you need to keep an eye on is business sentiment. Um, so one of the tools that I've used in the past and still do actually is Agora Pulse. It's a paid for platform, and it's been actually very good at helping me understand the business sentiment, who my ambassadors are, how I can post online and schedule in advance on many channels online. Um, but it also allows me to outsource work as well, so I can get virtual assistants or staff if I want to go down that route to come in and help me. And I know there's probably people cringing, going, "Well, I can't. How do you expect me to afford a paid channel and a virtual assistant?" I felt the same way. Okay. But it took some real guts to realize that the more time I was spending on doing all the minutiae or the admin side of things, when I'm a trainer and an expert in my field by talking to people, by training people, either through Zoom or through face to face training, I can handle that kind of admin stuff over to somebody else, a virtual assistant, or even a member of staff or a part-time member of staff. And that, when I realized I could actually earn more money by being forward facing with people, it made more sense. But the processes are out there already. You can use Asana to project manage. You can use social media scheduling tools, even stuff like Canva, which once you pay for it, you can schedule to pretty much every single social platform that you probably want to consider. There is also another platform that a lot of people don't use and really should, because you don't need to feed it as often as the other social platforms, and that is Google Business Profile. And lots of the larger brands now, Brandwatch, Social Pilot, over here we've got Feed Alpha, Agora Pulse, they're all allowing a KPI to Google Business Profile now. And this is a free tool that Google offer you, along with a plethora of other things that they give us for free. And as a lot of people, I know not everybody, but a lot of people use Google as a search engine, it gets you found on local searches first. obviously the more work you put into it and the more Google reviews you get on it. I know it does optimize for local search, not global brands, but there are ways you can get around that as well. So there's just so many tools out there, and I'm only familiar with the ones that I get this side of the pond. There's going to be lots of others that you've got over your side of the pond that do essentially the same thing. But there is a free tool that's available globally called Plannable that you can post to all of those channels, including Google Business Profile, for free as well.
And that's so important. So thank you for sharing that, because a lot of times we are only keyed into the things that we hear,
Mm,
and the louder voice go to some aspects of tools that we have at our disposal, and then you miss out on the free things that are actually probably comparable, if not sometimes even better than those platforms that you may have to pay. So thank you for bringing light to that. Now, earlier, before we started the podcast, we were mentioning how far you have come on your podcast. Tell us a little bit about the work you're doing there and the audience that you're looking for.
yeah, the podcast, oh, it's just been a roller coaster. It really has. In 2019, before all the madness, I was at an event with what has now become my co-host, Esther Ocampo, and uh, we've known each other for years, and we shoot the breeze with each other, and we were with a group of other people, and this one person said, "You two are just so funny. You should do something together." And she just turned around and looked at us and said, "You should do a podcast. You'd be so funny." And it was like a light bulb went on between us. And we both looked at one another and went, "That's such a good idea." I think both of us had considered podcasts, but we were too nervous to do it on our own. So you're quite a brave guy there, Enrique. Um, and 6 weeks later, we started the podcast. And then since January 2020, obviously, we didn't know what was to come. It made such a big difference because now we were reaching people not just in business hours, we were reaching them whilst they were walking their dog, whilst they were um, traveling when they could travel around, or if they were just wanting to do something different than watching, morning TV during the lockdown. And we picked up quite a big audience over, especially in the first year. And initially it started in Ireland, so obviously our largest audience was in Ireland, but now our largest audience is actually the US. And I think it's they like our accents. I'm almost certain because I've got an English accent. She's got a sort of a very gentle, lilting Northern Irish accent, and we just have a crack. We have a laugh. Maybe you don't understand have a crack. That's an Irish thing. We're trying to be funny.
No, I understood it well, having been exposed to a lot of the commentary from around the world. And, what's eh, interesting and also great to hear is that when it comes to marketing, there are specific things for specific regions, but
Mm,
then there are some things that overlap. And the audience listening, obviously this particular month has been internationally flavored, so they have gotten insight and some thoughts from internationally stationed folks, which I always love to do every July. But I wanted to thank you for joining us today, and also ask you, apart from the podcast, you do have a business. So, what are you working on, and how can the listener or viewer get a hold of you?
absolutely. Well, my business is Stomp Social Media Training. That is my bread and butter, my passion, and my joy project, I suppose. I just love helping people. I love empowering people. I'd love to make the social media manager accountable as well. Um, Sometimes you can just think, why am I giving them all this work that I've created that then I have to pay them to actually put up my social media post, then have to approve the post, and then, it just goes on and on and on. So that's why I shifted my ethos from social media management to social media training. So if that's a superpower that you want to have, if you want to understand what the heck your social media manager is doing, if you want to know how to have evenings and weekends off and take time off over Christmas and still market your business, then you need to contact me, because this is what I'm passionate and extremely talented at. So time management, productivity, social media training, and my best item that I can offer your listeners is my supported digital marketing strategy training course. I did it for keywords, okay, but it works. And what I do is I teach people over 12 hours how to become their own social media manager, understand analytics, build strategies, and basically market themselves more effectively. And if you want to learn more about what I do and contact me or ask me any questions, or indeed sign up to my newsletter and read my blogs, then please visit my website at stomp.ie.
Outstanding. And we'll have that as part of the show notes and video for you to get a hold of Melanie and all that she's doing. That's a wonderful course. I hope that everybody gets at least interested in diving into that, especially
Mm,
for you small businesses that know that you have to run it all at the beginning. But also consider what Melanie said. You know, sometimes you have to pay for somebody to do the work for you to do the work that you are passionate for. Melanie,
mm.
thank you so much for the insights into small and medium business marketing there. I know that a lot of folks have gleaned and taken some good information from all that. And folks, I want to remind everybody that today's episode is sponsored by Fantail Services and Superpass, which are powering our website and app, Southern Sweet and Sassy Coffee, the Outlier Project, and Duco. And if you've learned anything interesting about the topic covered today, make sure to subscribe and let us know by leaving a comment. And we're always looking for new ideas and guests that we can add to our show. So if you know someone or have a topic that you would like featured on the podcast or want to sponsor our show, we love to hear about it by emailing us at triadleadershipsolutions@gmail.com. And this podcast is brought to you by StreamYard, a browser-based tool that lets you live stream to any platform and record podcasts in studio quality. And we're using it to record this podcast. Now be sure to tune in next week for another episode where we dissect leadership from another angle. And as we like to end the show, success to you.